Hey guys, Jeff, and welcome to today's video. Today I wanted to come on and talk to you guys about the badpowerbikes.com website. It's something that's been brought to my attention a couple days ago through a Facebook group that I'm part of. I just want to go over it. I'm not necessarily going to review every point that they make or defend Brad Power Bikes on everything that's claimed against them on this website, because I don't think that I've looked at it briefly. We're going to discover more as we get along, but I don't think there's only lies on this website. I think some of it is legitimate. I want to talk about this because I think there's something not quite right about it. So I figured we would go through the website to get together and we can talk about some of the points and see how that works out. So I'm going to open the website here. I've already got a couple of things open so you can tell what I'm doing. So this is the website. It's badpowerbikes.com. Proof Rad Power bikes are demonstrably the worst electric bike. So already right off the bat, you can tell that they're got some real beef with Rad Power bikes for some reason. Rad Power bike owners report growing list of safety and quality issues. Rad e-bikes' relatively cheap purchase price leads to a perpetual series of expensive fixes if you can find a shop that will work on it. So it looks like from the get-go, the main issue that the website's creator is having with Rad Power bikes is that there are apparently issues with safety and quality. So one would assume that it's probably something along the line of someone that got hurt on the Rad Power bike and blames the bike's quality for that accident and wanted to make a website to what other people about. So this is the premise that we can go on. I think right off the bat this is very aggressive. So one thing that I think will become clear as we go through these, because I've worked through a lot of these issues or discussed these already, a lot of these claims that they're going to make seem to be not really substantiated. So they're going to say there's the issue, and then they don't really go further into explaining what exactly happened or go out of their way to prove that what they're claiming is the cause of the issue is really the cause of the issue. So I'll get back to that in a bit. It'll become more apparent as we move forward. But right off the bat, you can see that this person really has person or group, I should say. I'm going to say person, but assuming that's only one person that's behind this, but it could very well be a group, or as I will tend to lead into later on, probably a company. But yeah, this person seems to have a real gripe with Rad Power bikes, which, I mean, if they really got hurt on a Rad Power bike and it was really the bike's own fault, I can sort of understand why, but that doesn't quite line up with my experience. So yeah, a lot of anger there. Common Rad City electric owner complaints for Rad City, Rad Rover, Rad Mini, and Rad Wagon models. Now, another thing that I found interesting in this is that right off the bat, there are 4 different models, and they are like 18 issues with them. I find it kind of weird that across the range of Rad Power bikes, all 4 models would be susceptible to all 18 of these issues. Typically, like with a car company, like if you say Ford has issues, rarely will all Fords have all issues, or all Volkswagens have all issues, or all Toyotas have all issues. Typically, issues are more related to a model or a subset of models that share similar components, but rarely do you see issues going across the brand, and that should hold true with Rad as well, because none of these 4 bikes have the same frame. So when they say frame failure, that's at least 4 different frame designs, and we know that, for example, the Mini has 2 subtypes of frame. There's a step through and there's the regular one, so that's at least 5 there. I think the Rover has no step through. The City, I think, has 2 versions as well. So there's 4 to 6 frame types here, so that all 6 of them would have frame failure issues seems a bit unlikely to me. But at the same time, I mean, maybe they do, or maybe they wanted to keep it concise. But just the fact that they're pulling together a bunch of models with a bunch of issues without really making more links is weird. They'll say sources: Rad Power Bikes owner group forum topic on the electric bike reviews. Click to view. So let's see that known issue with Rad Power products, help, solutions, and fixes. So you go through there, And a couple points. No e-bike is perfect. This is thread dedicated sharing known issues. Okay. So right off the bat, when you get to the forum, the first post in it is way less aggressive than what was shown in the first. 4,000 miles here. Keep your spokes tight and true. Keep your chain oil. Brakes need a lot of adjustment, maintenance. Yeah, right. 800 miles in a wagon, no real issue. Say plug and play. Also, the front fender is a bit of the way of pedal. Blah blah. Only true issue was loose spokes. I have two 2016s with about 1,000 miles each. First issue I had was related to shipping with minor damage. They developed the same Rad Rover. Second Rad Rover was in good condition. Second Rad Rover controller issue. Maintain 30 around 500 miles. Only starts once 3 times in a row. Wouldn't occur. Blah blah. So going down through this forum, and already not that many serious issues are popping up. So I don't know where. I guess they must have really combed through all the issues in there to come up with those. But anyway, let's go through the issues real quick because I'm curious. So rear wheels come loose. I haven't heard of anyone that's had this issue. I'm an active member on a support group for RAD, mostly for upgrading parts, but they're support as well. Never heard of anyone having rear wheels coming loose. Mine definitely didn't come loose. The way the wheel is designed in the rear wheel, at least on the Rad Rover, I wouldn't 100% say that it's the case on all of them, but there is a locking mechanism for the bolt on the rear. So if it was properly tied, there shouldn't be any reason that it comes off unless something would break, but I really can't see why that would happen. And I think what's going to become a theme here is if you get this bike inspected and adjusted by a professional once you receive it, the chances that things will come loose and break are very, very unlikely. I can address this point. If you can find a shop that will work on it, I don't live all over the world, unfortunately, so I can't really comment too bad on it. What I can say is I live in a small town in eastern Quebec, which does not have a reputation for being very open-minded. And literally the first shop I went to was a Norco dealer, and I came to them with a bike. I didn't call them ahead. I just showed up with my bike. I say, hey guys, I just bought this bike. I'd like to have it set up and inspected. It's purchased from the internet. The guys were super enthusiastic about it. They were looking at it. They were like, wow, we've never seen this. What is this brand? And I talked to them about it, showed them the website, and they were super excited about it, and they worked on it. They didn't charge me anything extra for it, and they were really impressed by the price point and the parts that were on there for that price point. They showed me a couple of the bikes that they sell, which were like $8,000 to $10,000, and they were really impressed. They were actually considering reaching out to Rad and purchasing possibly a couple bikes from them to sell in their shop. So maybe there are places where you really can't find a bike shop that will work on it. That is far from my experience. I think a lot of that has to do with attitude. When I showed up at the bike shop, I didn't come in and try to impress the guys with my amazing bike. I knew it was a fairly cheap bike for what it was, and I just came in and said, hey guys, I got this bike from the internet. I thought it was a good deal. I got it in, and I'd like to have it inspected and set up. Would you guys be able to do that? And they were glad to do it. I guess if you come in and you start talking shit and annoying the owners and being an asshole, then yeah, maybe probably they don't want to talk to you, or they don't want to work on your bike. And of course, I guess it also depends on your area. If a lot of e-bike owners in your area are being douchebags and coming to the shops and being annoying, then yeah, maybe the owners of these bike shops will be less likely to talk to you and work with you. But anyway, that hasn't been my experience. I guess some people have had issues with that. My personal advice is don't be an asshole. When you're nice to people, they tend to be nice to you as well. So do with that what you will. Second point, there are no spoke breakage. Okay. This one I can sort of see where it comes from. My Rad Rover had some loose spokes when it came in. And a lot of people from the forums that I've seen seem to have loose spokes, so they rattle a lot. And yeah, I mean, if you're leaving them like that and you let them rattle on, eventually I guess they will come loose and break. That's true of any bike, in my experience. And that's not a very complicated fix. I mean, you can buy a little tool on Amazon just to tighten them down. That won't true the wheel, but at least it will get them tied up. And like I said, I'm 330 pounds now. I was 350 when I started riding the bike. So if there was an issue with spokes breaking due to weight or whatever, I think I would have broken mine by now. But it's over 700 kilometers now on the bike, and it still hasn't broken. But I have tightened my spokes before. I haven't gotten the wheels trued yet because I haven't had time, and frankly, just tightening the spokes down seems to have worked well enough for me. But you need to do that maintenance. It's not a maintenance-free vehicle, guys, and if you're getting issues, you have to look into them right away. It's just like a car. I mean, we're gonna get back to that, but I think a lot of these issues that people are talking about, they're really the same issues that people have with cars, except they don't get them checked out and then they get hurt. If your car was having brake failures, you wouldn't just wait around until you hit something with it. You would go to the mechanic and get the car looked at and checked out and get the brakes replaced or adjusted or whatever the case may be. And same thing should apply to the bikes. These bikes in particular, because they go very fast, but any bike you need to get it checked out when something goes wrong. So spoke breakage, I guess maybe some people broke spokes, but I mean, I'm like 90% sure that the reason these spokes broke is because they weren't tightened down. And a $6 tool off Amazon would have fixed the problem for you. Rust. That's another fun fact. I've looked at the frame a little closer on my bike, and I really can't see why it would rust more than any other thing. Again, I guess this depends on what you do with it. If you ride the bike in winter and sludge and things like that, you need to wash it down at some point. You need to get the corrosives out of there. If you don't, it's going to rust. Everything's going to rust. So is it worse than any other bike out there that's being ridden in the snow or whatever? I can't really comment on that. I just don't see why it would rust more. The paint quality on it looks pretty good. Mine, as I said, is 700 kilometers and no paint chips on it at all. So I really don't see an issue with that. But yeah, okay. Maybe they rust a little. If so, there's plenty of things you can do. You can wash the bike more frequently. There's anti-rust treatments that you can do for it. So if you're in an area that is prone to rusting, then I guess, yeah, sure, get it treated. And if not, well, I don't know, find me another bike that rusts less. Point number 4, poor quality brakes, low stopping power, constant squealing, and rubbing of warped discs. Okay, so that one is interesting because I have actually talked about the brakes in 2 of my videos now. The low stopping power I agree with. I think the brakes aren't very good on the Rad Rover anyway. I haven't tried the other 3 models, but on the Rover they're pretty poor. I've said that already. I'm pretty heavy, like I said, 330 pounds, and I don't think I'd be able to do an emergency braking with the bike. Like, I won't be able to log the wheels for sure. But on the regular use, they're decent enough. I mean, they stop me. I haven't went past the stop sign and got hit by a car because of it. You just have to remind yourself of the power, of the braking power you have, and work with what you have. I would definitely recommend getting a hydraulic brake upgrade. And as I said in my review, I wish that Red Power Bikes offered the option to just option out your bike from the factory, so you wouldn't have to fuck around with finding some hydraulic brake conversion kits and installing it, because it's a bit fiddly for sure. So I wish they would do that. Like, optioning the bikes right from the factory would be a great idea in my opinion, but anyway, they don't do it. So yeah, the low stopping power, I agree. Constant squealing, kind of agree too. They are squealing a lot. I find if you can keep them well cleaned and adjusted, they don't squeal as much, but they still squeal a bit. Most bikes that I've seen with disc brakes tend to squeal, so maybe I'm just the idiot here, but to me that's not a big concern. I mean, that's something you can definitely point out, but to package it in a list of safety and quality issues, I'm not sure about that one. And rubbing of warped discs, again, I guess that can happen. I haven't really heard of anyone having that issue. I figure if they're poorly adjusted or they're poorly maintained or they're not well set up or not well kept, I guess over time they can warp, probably. Um, just like any other disc from any vehicle. I mean, I've taken some of my cars to tracks before and I've warped discs. It happens. I didn't go to Subaru or Volkswagen now, but when I had warped disc, it was Subaru. I didn't go cry to Subaru because my discs had warped when I was on the track. So, I mean, shit happens. From what I've read anyway, Rad are also pretty good with warranty claims. So if they warped under normal use, I guess they're pretty easy to work with. But, yeah. Rough shifting, that's a fun one. Mine came pretty well set up. It shifted pretty good right off the bat, and I got it adjusted at a professional shop, and it's been working flawlessly for the 700 or so kilometers that I've ridden it for. So, yeah, again, rough shifting. Get your fucking bike adjusted. That's all I can say. If it doesn't work after being adjusted, make a warranty claim on the derailleur. There's really not much there. There's Shimano brakes and not brakes, but there's Shimano derailleurs, so they're not Rad specific, and there's no reason why they should be any worse than on any other bike. Local bike shops refuse to work on Rad brands. I've already gone through a lot of my opinions on that, so I can't comment too much on what goes on like where I don't live, but where I live, I was just nice to the guys and they were happy to help me, so don't be an asshole again. Defective controllers. Yeah. I haven't had issues, but I've seen on the forums some people that did have issues, and pretty much every issue that I've seen so far, Rad's been pretty good about changing the controllers on warranty. So I don't really see what the issue is. They're electronics. They are fairly cheap electronics, so yeah, some of them will break. It's part of the game. But the way I've seen it, Rad's been pretty good with dealing with these issues, and changing a controller really isn't all that difficult. So even if your local bike shop refuses to work on it, there's no reason why you can't change them yourself. I guess if you're an older person or someone that's not really manually inclined and you want someone to work on it and your local bike shop refuses, yeah, maybe sure it would be nice if Rad had some sort of dealership network or partners with some bike mechanics that would work on Rads for sure. But I mean, that's the name of the game, right? You buy these. I guess that's an annoyance if you live in an area where really no bike shop will work on your bike. You need to work on it yourself, and you're not very good with it. Yeah, I guess that's a bummer. I mean, if you're in that situation, I really can't tell you that you're wrong. Again, I would say try not to be an asshole. For sure, if you show up at a bike shop that's told you we're not going to work on Rads, and you start whining and bitching at the owner, they're probably not going to help you out. If you go in there and they say we don't work on them, and you try to butter them up and try to get them to work on your bike, chances are they're more likely going to help you out. But yeah, again, that's a hard one to work on. So cable breakage, I haven't seen anything in the forums. I haven't had issues myself, so can't comment. Only thing I can really say is shit breaks. It happens. I don't see why it would happen more on a Rad power bike than on any other bikes. I mean, they're used typical cables. So, yeah. Ghost throttle. Haven't really heard of anything or seen anything like that. Yeah, I guess if it happens, okay, it happens. Kill it. If you hit the brakes, the circuit opens. It shouldn't work anymore. No reason. Frame failure. That's one I was referring to earlier with all the different models. I haven't heard of anyone having frame failures. Again, I'm 330 pounds. Started out at 350 when I started riding the bike. My Rad Rover's frame is dead solid, and I'm way over the limit that it's theoretically supposed to take. So I guess if there was issues with frames, I would have found out. I would have been prone to getting these issues, but I haven't. So we'll see about that. And again, right, that all four of these models would have frame failure is kind of weird to me. Maybe they do, but I don't believe it. Sensor failure, I haven't heard anything like that, haven't seen anything like that. So I guess it can happen. I mean, it happened on my Volkswagen. I got like 3 or 4 sensors that failed over the course of a 3 month, and Volkswagen changed them, and that was that. So same holds for Rad. If you got sensor issues, they'll change them for you, and there shouldn't be any further issues with that. Mystery error 30 messages. So I did get an error 30 message when I was at about 150 kilometers, and all that was a connector that came loose. It was entirely my fault. I hadn't tightened it enough when I put the bike together, and I guess the bike shop didn't check that particular connector. I just tightened the connector again, and off I was. I didn't have to look all that hard to find the issue with that either. I mean, Rad has a pretty comprehensive support website, and it led me right to the correct connector to check, and I had that fixed in like 3 minutes. I have heard, however, on the forums of one guy who's had like the error 30 message, and it was the controller. Rad changed it on the warranty, and now he's good, so can't really comment too much. Failure in rain. Now that one is I can't really talk because I try to avoid riding my bike in rain. I've ridden it in rain only once, and I haven't had any issues. I would guess any electric vehicle like this that's exposed to the elements with a lot of parts that aren't in sealed containers can experience failure in rain. My advice would be avoid riding it in rain. And if you're caught riding it in rain, yeah, let it dry once it's done. I mean, it can always break. I don't see this as being necessarily a deal breaker. It might be one of the more valid points in that list, but even then I haven't really heard. I've seen one guy on the forums that had an issue, and it wasn't in rain. He washed the bike, and water got into the screen, and it broke his screen, so Rad had to change. But Rad actually changed under warranty the controller and the screen, so pretty good there. Poor range. I guess it's all subjective. I get about 50 kilometers of range with a lot of assist and being a fairly heavy guy out of my Rad Rover. I'm sure I'd get more if I took down the power assist and pedaled more or just lost some weight. I'm also pretty sure that if you have like a Rad City or the Rad Mini with smaller wheels, either narrower wheels or smaller diameter wheels, you probably get a bit better range. Rad Wagon doesn't even use the same type of motor, so I don't think you can really pull it in with these. But anyway, they seem to think that's pretty poor range. To me, getting 50 kilometers of range on one charge at the weight I'm at and the way I use the bike is completely acceptable. Plug-in hybrid cars do about that, 50 kilometers of range on electric power. So I think that's appropriate. For whoever doesn't think that this is sufficient, I guess look for something else. I don't remember what was advertised. It's right there. 25 to 45 plus miles. 50 kilometers is what? Let's see here. 25. Let's see. 50 kilometers in miles. That is 31 miles. So my bottom, like, I use it pretty shittily. So 50 kilometers is probably the lower number. And claims 25. I get 31. I would say that's pretty much within the 25 to 45 plus. And as I said, 31 is like me being overweight, using the max power assist, using a lot of the throttle. So in my worst conditions, I get more than the minimum that they quote here. So I'm pretty happy. I'm sure if I was 200 pounds, pedaling a lot more, I'd get the 45 easy. What's 45? Let's do that just for comparison. I'm not very good with miles. 72 kilometers, I get already 50, getting an extra 22 kilometers out of losing 100 pounds, and yeah, I think I would get that definitely. So right, Rad power bikes have just half the range of other e-bikes before the battery dies. Okay. So other power bikes can do a minimum of 100 kilometers on a charge. I don't think so. I'd be really curious to see what Saunders bikes get. Let's look at that just for fun. Let's take what would be the equivalent. Saunders original. All right. I guess that would be the one closest to the Rad Rover. Description: battery, 36 volts, 8.7 amp hours. Okay. Tilts at 350 watt motors. So the battery's a little smaller than a Rad, but so is the motor. They don't really make claims, do they? Range. Okay. I'm an idiot. Saunders claims 25 to 40 miles of range on their battery, which is less than what Rad quotes. So I'm not sure why where that claim came from. I guess they were looking at Norco bikes that were like I'm not even sure. Like let's look at a very expensive e-bike just for the shits and giggles. Let's go to Norco's website. Norco bicycles. Let's see what kind of range we get. Mountain bike, I guess. E-mountain, Bigfoot. That sounds like an electric fat bike. Battery 630 watts. Charge time 4.5 hours. Intended for all terrain. Okay. Powerful. Everything's powerful. There it is. Okay, so that one of the shocks, I guess that one would be the one most comparable to the Rad Rover. It's $5,700. $5,700. What does that get you in terms of range? Anyway, let's They don't really talk about range, do they? Yeah, they don't talk about range here. Okay, let's assume that a $5,700 bike gets you twice what Rad gets you. It's more than twice the price too, so fuck off. Rad is no national service network, and most local bike shops will not work on them. First part is true, no service network. So if you're not in Vancouver or Seattle, you can go fuck right off because, yeah, there's no dealer. There's no anything. Local bike shops won't work on it. Again, we're back to the local bike shops won't work on it point. Don't be a fucking asshole. It's fairly easy. The internet can fix your broken Rad e-bike. Yeah, no, it can't, but it can tell you how you can fix it. So again, fuck right off. Most bike shops won't work on Rad. Again, most bike shops, that's what I don't like, right? So that some bike shops will not work on Rad power bikes, I can sort of get on board with. I'm sure there are places where the owners are like fucked up angry with Rad for whatever reason because they feel like Rad being a direct-to-consumer business is playing with their numbers and making them lose money or whatever. So I'm sure there are some places that this happened where someone was super nice, came in with a bike, and the proprietor was an asshole and just told him to fuck off. I'm sure that happened. But that most bike shops are like that, I find really hard to believe. So considering that there are big chains all over the place, considering that there are small shops everywhere, that in any given place, there wouldn't be at least one place where you can get your bike checked out if you just butter up the proprietor a little bit, to me is pure insanity. And that most places wouldn't do it doesn't seem right to me. But anyway, let's say most bike shops really don't want, did you try taking it to a fucking car mechanic? Yeah, you know, there's other options out there. If they don't even want to look at them, don't you have like a friend that can help you out? Anyway, shops don't stock no-name Chinese parts. Most of the parts on the Rad Power bikes are not no-name. Some are, for sure, but most aren't. So, yeah, they can get the parts for sure. Rad will tell you VeloFix, mobile bike repair franchise or inertial network. That's intentionally misleading. VeloFix is only in 28 to 50 states. They're not in every town. Yeah, okay, sure. So they have a deal with VeloFix. I don't know that company. That's at least 28 states where they're in. On their website, 20 major unrepresented regions: Boston, Chicago, blah blah blah. Okay, so essentially, what I'm reading there is that Rad has a partner that you can go to that will definitely give you service. And then these guys are complaining that that's a bad thing because that partner, and that's not the only place where you can get your bike fixed, right? But the partner is not located everywhere, so somehow that's a bad thing. Yeah, okay, sure. Rad Power bikes have more bad Yelp reviews than any other electric bike brands. And then they go on to screen cap some of the worst 1-stars. Okay, let's take that at face value. Let's say that's true. Let's go to Yelp. I'm curious as to what the overall score of Rad Power bikes is on Yelp. Just on Yelp. Yeah, I guess looking through San Francisco isn't. Let's go with Seattle, I guess, because they look to have search everything around Seattle here. Okay, Rad Power bikes, there they are. So they have a 3.5-star rating, over 57 reviews. That's a 5-star. That's a 1-star. Don't have enough inventory. When grand opening at their new location, brought helmets up and ride bikes home. Guess what? Okay, so this one is because they don't have inventory. So the guy is pissed off that he couldn't buy a bike. Okay, sure. That doesn't tell you much about the quality of the bike, except that the shop doesn't have a lot of inventory. Customer service is complete and total joke. I bought a bike from them and it shipped to my house. Arrived box completely destroyed. Front brakes. Yeah, okay. This guy had issues. Probably one bad experience there. Can't say too much about it. Bad customer service. They continued buying part, but that's still a 5-star rating. Okay. So my experience has been a little less than stellar. I live in Redmond. Okay, so it's some of the same issues. A lot of those seem to be related to shipping. So, okay. I guess they do have issues. I mean, I'm not going to lie. They do have issues. Then they point out videos of Rad Power bikes from 30 different Rad e-bike owners. And yeah, some of them have issues. Everything has issues. From what I can gather, I've seen some issues in the forums, and all of them seem to have been addressed by Rad, so I don't see how they're any worse. This one is funny. I watched this video before, the Rad Rover falling apart video, this one. And in this video, what's funny is James Bond made sort of misleading, I guess, when you get to the actual portion of the video where he loses a part, you realize that it wasn't actually a part of the bike.
Miles per hour.
It was like a part of the of an accessory of some kind. But anyway, fenders fail. Okay, motor issues. Problem. So yeah, they've gathered a couple of problems. One thing you do have to account for. We'll get to that crashing in a second. One thing you have to account for is that if you're looking for issues, you're always going to find some on anything. I'm not saying that the bikes are perfect, and what I'm saying is they don't deserve to have a badpowerbikes.com website trying to trash on them, because they really aren't that bad. Some of them have issues. A lot of car companies have issues. A lot of companies have issues in general. So, yeah, that these happen, sure, it can probably happen. But if you keep looking, you're going to find not a lot of people are going to make videos talking about how the rear hub motor didn't fail on their bike. So if you're looking for the percentage of bikes sold that didn't have issues, yeah. Now this one's interesting. Poor rear hub motor handling characteristics result in crashes and injury. Rad power bike owners call them rad tattoos. Right off the bat, I've never heard anyone talk about rad tattoos. Okay. On any Facebook group of any kind, I guess that one guy at one point must have said that, and it caught on to these douchebags. Poor rear hub motor handling characteristics result in crashes and injury. So that's a funny one, because you get all these douchebags that were injured on their bike. A lot of blood, a lot of stitches, a lot of unhappy faces there. They never actually make the connection as to how the characteristics of the rear hub motor caused them to crash. So here's the deal about hub motors in general. There is this law in physics, and engineering will always go this. There's the relationship between sprung weight and unsprung weight. That is very important in handling. So unsprung weight is basically all the weight that's in the wheel that's sort of gyrating with the wheel that's stuck in there. The lower that weight is, especially in relationship to your sprung weight, so that's the weight that's on top of that, that's connected to that through springs usually, but through a frame. Anything, that relationship is really important. So the lower the unsprung weight is in comparison to the sprung weight, typically speaking, the more fluid your handling is going to be. So I'm not a physicist, I can't really explain any more details than that, but that holds true. So short, having hub wheels is having hub motor wheels is always going to be a bit of a disadvantage on the handling front. But the fact that the motor is in the rear wheel on the rad and it's not that heavy is really not that big of a deal. I would venture to say that 99.9% of these injuries were caused by user error. So either people going too fast or people not being comfortable enough for this bike and just crashing it. Anyway. Alright, and this one's an interesting portion. I think that's the one that has probably the most validity to have any of them claims. Buyers frequently report shipping damage, poor, slow customer service, resolving issues. Here's what I know. Mine came super clean. You've seen the box and the unboxing video. Everything was fine. But I did have concerns when I ordered it, because I have seen a lot of these horror stories where boxes are completely destroyed and mangled, and some bikes parts are broken. So yeah, there is some truth there, and I think that's probably one of the more damning things against Rad, because I think they know that they have issues with these boxes, and they should really improve the packaging, in my opinion, just to avoid these things. not only because it would probably save them on the long run on having to fix these issues, but because it would improve their image and customer satisfaction. So the truth of doing business is it's a lot easier to please your customer on the first go than to make a customer angry and then trying to bring him back to your side. So if you just ship out bikes in better boxes that don't break, people will generally be happier than if you ship them out in a shitty box and you have to send them extra parts 3 days later to get them to fix their own bike. So yeah, I think that's pretty damning on Rad's part. They should fix that. They should address that. But there are definitely cases where it doesn't fuck up. I mean, mine traveled across the continent, went from Vancouver all the way down here to Rimouski, and it wasn't even scratched. So it does happen that they don't get fucked up, but it does happen quite a lot. I'm sure that they do get mangled in transport. And Rad should really address this. Slow customer service resolving issues. What I've heard about this is partly true. What I've heard about this is Rad is pretty good at sending parts out and helping you to fix things under warranty. The portion that is annoying is that they do seem to require a lot of videos and very tedious documenting work to be able to get your stuff out there. I guess that's probably part ways a way for them to make sure that they're not getting screwed over, and probably a bit to make sure that the issues the customer reporting really are caused by the parts that they're claiming are broken. And what I mean by that is, having worked in technical support for, granted it was for an internet service provider, but having worked in that, a lot of times customers will call in and they'll tell you something along the lines of, my modem is broken. Or, and I guess in Rad's bike, they could say something like, my motor is broken. And the truth of the matter is, almost 10 out of 10 times, I would say 99.9% of the time, when a customer calls in and tells you something is broken, they're wrong. So the truth is, usually with internet service anyway, when they call in and say my modem is broken, what's really going on, there's something out in the network that's not working properly. It's causing errors on the line, and you need to send a technician to inspect the network and fix that stuff. Rarely is it ever the modem, but because the modem is the one thing that the customer sees, it's the one thing that they will claim is broken. And customers tend to get really angry when they tell you the modem is broken and you ask questions and start questioning their diagnostic and offering other solutions, because they think you're trying to fuck with them. And the truth is, we're not. We're really trying to help you fix the real problem. And a lot of these customers, you send them a new modem, it doesn't work, and they are even more angry with you. And then, yeah, so it's a lose-lose situation on that front. But I'm pretty sure, coming from that experience, that Rad is undergoing some of the same issues. So people are calling in saying, my screen doesn't work. And it's probably not the screen, or they'll say something like, my motor's broken, but it's not really the motor, it's the controller. So there's a lot of things there. So I understand why they would try to get more video evidence of the issue, just so that they can not only make sure that you're not making up any problems, but also that they can properly diagnose it and send you the correct parts. I choose to believe that that is why this is a little more complicated. And for some people, I guess that's a reason to tell Rad that they're wrong. But anyway, Rad power bikes are heavy and not allowed on public transport. Okay, I'll go one step further on that one. You can't put them on a fucking roof rack, which to me is really annoying because I can't put a hitch on my Golf R, and I can only put a roof rack, and no rack I found will support the bike. So that's super annoying. Totally get it. Where I'm curious though is apparently they're heavier than the norm. So let's go to their closest competitors again. Let's go back to Saunders. I'm really curious to see how much a Saunders bike weighs. The limit is 55, right, and for a fat bike. So we're looking at the Saunders original again. Weight, it means business, blah, 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 total weight of 60 pounds. So the Saunders bike is 60 pounds. It's a little lighter than Rad's, but guess what? It's still over 55 or 50 pounds. So it's not something that only Rad is guilty of, if you want to call them that. And also, that is something that you should have known right off the bat. They don't attempt in any way to hide the fact that the bikes are pretty heavy. And if you want to take them on a train, it is your responsibility to make sure that the bike you buy will fit on the train. So if Amtrak trains or whatever the case may be's limit is 50 pounds, and you go out and buy a 68-pound bike and they won't let you take it on the train, whose fucking fault is it? Rad power bikes are the Hummers of the electric bike world. Okay. What does that even mean? 649 state-of-the-art bike rack with ramp from owners find Rads. Really? I went to quad and V2, the accessory ramp. There's no freaking way I can push the 65-pound bike up this short ramp. Be able to secure it all by myself. I want to be able to take my bike different places as my Yukon is large. Eagle, but geez. Okay. I guess they say that Rad power bikes are the Hummers of electric bike world because they're big and heavy. Okay. Okay. Rad power bikes weigh the same. So they go on a lot of they put a lot of effort in this website to show us that the bike is heavy, when I'm pretty sure if you go to Rad Power Bike's website, right off the bat, the weight is pretty clearly displayed. Guess we'll find out together. Don't go anywhere. Recommended rate to bike weight right there. It's on the first page, 31 kilograms, which is whatever, 68 pounds, I guess. They don't hide the fact that it's heavy. If you're going to buy the bike and not know that it's heavy, then again, you're an idiot. Also, 68 pounds isn't really all that heavy. I can lift that bike up with my two hands, no problem. When I was looking at a solution to getting on a roof rack, what a lot of people told me is, it's so heavy you won't be able to lift it. So I tried it. I took the bike, lifted it up all the way over my head, put it on my patio, and then took it down again, and I had no problem lifting it. So I'm a pretty big guy, but I mean, if I was a little smaller, a little weaker, I could get my girlfriend to help me or whatever the case may be. Two average people can lift that bike up no problem. So if you can't push a 65-pound bike up a short ramp, you're fucking weak. I don't know who that guy is. I guess Thomas K. Campbell or Randy K. Campbell, whatever the fuck maybe. Get swole, buddy. Is Rad 750 watt motor actually a 500 watt motor? Is bait and switch? Rad keeps price low and absorb 25% tariff on imported Chinese, blah, blah, blah. So yeah, Kyle from Bolton e-bikes looked at it. And I guess there are different bikes. The way I understand it, and again, I'm not an electrician, but the way I understand it, the casing of the 750 watt Rad Rover motor from Bafang was probably just a 500 watt motor that's being overvolted at 750 watt. I can see how that can be perceived as a bit deceiving. In my experience, marketing kind of always is. In Canada, it's even not really an issue because it is sold as a 500 watt bike because legally they can't sell a 750 watt, so we don't get that overboost. I suggest you go watch Kyle's video about the motor. It's pretty interesting, and the conclusion I come up with out of watching Kyle's video on this is that it's not really a 750 watt motor. It's more like a 500 watt turbo or something like that. But it's plenty good. Complaints filed with Better Business Bureau. 7 complaint. Okay. If I'm not mistaken, Rad Power Bikes had like a $15 million revenue last year. 7 complaints out of $15 million of business. is not that bad. Rad Power Bikes, there's generics trying to support e-bike with Rad Power Bike stickers on them. Rad didn't build these electric bikes. They bought them for about half what they're charging you. They put decals on them. Okay. BAM, generic Chinese e-bike, photo use, personal, blah, blah. Rad, generic Chinese. So it's no secret that Rad sells bikes that are made in China out of fairly cheap parts. I guess that's their business model. So if you don't know that, shame on you. What I'm not sure of, and I guess I can't really comment on that, is whether or not Rad made these designs and then the factories that are building them in China just started to sell them at a cheaper price to other people to make more money, or if Rad just used these designs that came from the Chinese factories and put stickers on them. Their marketing seems to suggest that they came up with the designs and then others copied them. But the way it's not that clear, and the way Rad isn't going after anyone else for selling these similarly designs, leads me to believe they're probably Chinese designs that Rad just buys and puts stickers on them. Then again, if you can find same bike, and for sure confirm that it's the same bike for half the price on like AliExpress or whatever, and get it delivered to your door, then by all means do. I'd much rather buy it from a company like Rad, who will offer me a bit of support, some warranty in case something goes bad. And I mean, I pay a little extra, but at least it's from a fairly somewhat reputable company, so it's not from AliExpress. And if there's issues, I can probably get them fixed. But I mean, it is what it is. A lot of people do this drop shipping. And, advertises positive reviews that they paid the reviewer to produce. Yeah, just like everyone else. If this website contained anything that was not true, Rad's lawyers would have shut it down by now. Probably not. It's fairly complex to get a website shut down. I can make a website right now that tells that the creator of this website is a pedophile without any kind of proof, and it will probably still be up in a year because it's really hard to get a website shut down. With the Reddit community, alright, so they pick out a couple. Poor condition, poverty, wages, and polluting China hub motors factories. Okay, so we don't even know that this is the factory that Rad uses, but there are some issues in China, for sure, in the factory world. And they need to be addressed. I don't think it's Rad's responsibility to get on that, but sure. Why do people buy Rad's low-quality e-bikes? Price, electric bikes, great, blah, blah, blah. I think it's funny about that is they seem to claim that Rads are the cheapest e-bikes you can get, where I can, right off the bat, show you that Saunders are cheaper. So if it was really just price, Saunders bikes would be the number one seller. I guess people just like the design of Rad. I think they look better than Saunders. The way the battery is installed into Saunders is kind of annoying in my opinion. But anyway, I think people like Rads. The price point is good. Most people don't have issues with them. Most people like them. So that's why people buy them. I'm at 5,000 miles and the Rad wagon is shot. Can't go 100 miles without something going wrong. Not sure why my shifter cable breaks all the time. Tires have mystery flats. Spoke brands, blah, blah. Okay. Yeah, plenty of finely selected issues of people complaining about the bikes. Rad Power Bikes has many blind loyal supporters. Many love their bike and experiences few, if any, of these issues. If you read this whole website, you're well equipped to make the right decision for you. So we encourage you to research your e-bike purchase thoroughly. We do not promote a specific brand. Believe in the future of electric bikes. Want you to safely enjoy one of years to come. Okay. So it sounds like, and that brings me back to my original point. It sounds like what they're trying to do is just give you this really consumer-friendly advice of whether or not you should get a Rad Power Bike. And I'm not here to tell you to go buy a Rad or something else. The reason I'm making this video is because I think this is a bit disloyal. Someone went through a lot of trouble putting up this website and being very aggressive in the way that they're reporting this. And when you look at the who is, and that's what I was getting at all along. The who is for badpowerbikes.com is who is guard protected, which means that the person that came up with this website not only does not offer any contact information on his website at all, but they hide who they are for some reason. I believe this is a damning proof that whoever made that website doesn't necessarily have your best interest at heart. I think whoever made that website is a competitor to Rad Power Bikes, and they're trying a negative marketing strategy against Rad to discredit them to some extent and try to make their the Rad Power Bike brand less interesting, less appealing to consumers, in the hopes that it will drive consumers to watch other videos and other websites and choose on another bike just because these bikes are supposedly really bad. I don't think that I wouldn't think that Saunders is necessarily behind it, although I am pretty sure that they are Rad's biggest competitor. Because a lot of the things that are said about Rad can really be said about Saunders as well. So it's probably, if I had to venture a guess, and I have no proof of this, but if I had to venture a guess, I'm thinking it's probably one of the bigger brands like Norco or something like that, Giant maybe, who are probably getting hit pretty bad by the Rad business and probably by Saunders as well, but since Saunders is smaller, it's to a lesser extent, because Rad is able to sell an e-bike that's fully functional, that has some issues. Let's not delude ourselves in thinking it doesn't have issues. It does have issues, but they're able to produce decently good enough e-bike at a price point that these big brands just can't. And it's really pissing them off, and that's why they're trying to tarnish the name in hopes that people will think, yeah, cheap power bikes are probably not good, so I'm going to spend more money and get on the big brands and spend more money just like that. And I don't think that's right. But again, that's just my opinion. So anyway, guys, this video is getting pretty lengthy. It's probably drawing close to an hour now. So I'm going to leave you with these thoughts. Are Red Power Bikes perfect? Definitely not. I think there's a lot of issues that should be addressed. However, I don't think that any of the issues that exist in the Rad Power Bike ecosystem are life-threatening or so dangerous that they warrant these big letters and big Bad Power Bikes website. I think this is definitely something that is a marketing strategy by some company to tarnish the Rad name and try to get more money from themselves. Who is it? Not sure, but anyway. Again, a lot of this stuff is my opinion. I hope that you guys get an idea of what I'm trying to do here. I'm just trying to question the intention behind something like this. And I mean, I don't have any parts in Rad Power Bikes, so I don't give a fucking fly if indeed they are so dangerous and they go down and burn in hell for all I care. But I think people need to be cognizant of the fact that other entities are at play here. And with that said, try to stay critical of everything you read and see, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace, guys.